are my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. Okay, I thought I'd start us off with a very quick thing, and just show you an ornament that sits on my shelf. I'm looking into my computer at the moment, obviously, and behind it is a shelf with some special things on, and this sits on the special shelf. And oh, is it called Humboldt? I can't remember the name of the firm. I've discovered in recent years that there's a little boy that goes with this, and they're bookends. So the little girl sat one end of the bookshelf and the boy at the other. But my grandmother only had the little girl. And when she had grandchildren, she appointed her ornaments to represent her grandchildren. And my sister, she always said, was like a pretty little ballerina that she had, you know, a bone china, delicate ballerina. That was my sister. But this more chunky child reading a book was me. And I didn't look anything like this, mind you. And I think I was that grandmother's favorite grandchild. I was the first one, and she used to look after me and take me to the park. Anyway, when she died, I don't know how I acquired it, but I've got it anyway. So it's special to me because I know it represented me as a child, and also because it belonged to my grandmother. So that gets us going. Now I'm going to ask Leslie to go next because she's got to go to an inner wheel meeting, and I want her to share hers before she goes.
Well, mine is a story about grandmother as well, actually. This, I don't know where it is. Can you see it? No?
No, up, down.
I've never done this before. Oh, I see, yes. This is a very well-travelled teapot. In 1912, it went to Australia, and in 1922, it came back again, because in 1912, my grandparents went to Australia to make a new life out there, I suppose. And I was left this when my grandma died. It's not very valuable, I'm sure. It's a bit battered, but I have also found amongst some of the papers I've been going through the newspaper cutting of the event when she was presented with it from the Congregational Church in Watton, which is round the Dereham Road, where the assembly, owned now by the Assemblies of God, where she was in Sunday school, and then she was a Sunday school teacher, and then she did all kinds of other things before she went to Australia. And I've also got the letter of recommendation, which is in a fairly bad way, but it is quite old, which her minister sent with her. And I just think that, well, I'm not a very intrepid traveller at all. I mean, if I have to go to Norwich, I shake. And so I just think it's quite amazing that all those years ago, my grandparents set off for a completely unknown life. They lived in the bush, well, on the edges of the bush. They lived in a house on stilts because of the problems in some places with flooding. They lived in Queensland, and they came back in 1922 because my grandma tried really hard to settle, but she couldn't. She really, really couldn't. So they came back, and both my father and his brother were born out there, but they came back when they were very small. So that's why I have a very well-travelled teapot.
Thank you. We'll see how many other teapots there are, and how many other people speak about their grandmothers. Yes. Okay, thanks, Leslie. Right, I'm going to go along my screen, and the next one is Beryl. Did you put your hand up, Beryl? Beryl, you've got to unmute. That's it. You've done it.
This was a Christmas present from David Yarram's mum and dad, because they were, I'm related to David. David's dad was my granny's brother. And they gave me this for Christmas when I was about 7 or 8. And I just fell in love with it. And this is very special, comes out every Christmas. And when it comes out, it brings back many, many memories to me of the Sunday school at Holcombe, because Aunt Sissy and Uncle George were, Uncle George was the superintendent, and Aunt Sissy taught the younger children at the Sunday school. And I only lived one door away from them, and we all the children from New Holcombe used to go round to theirs on a Sunday morning at about 10:30, ready to walk down to Longlands where the chapel is for Sunday school. And we'd walk down there with them, and that was as much part of going to Sunday school, that walk there and walk back again. But this just brings back so many happy memories. As a candle, but I will never burn it, and I hope when anything happened to me, Kathy will never burn it. I hope that will keep going for a lot of years. But that's sort of got a little bit dirty over the years, but that comes out, as I say, every Christmas. And
can you lift it up, Beryl, so we can see all of it? It's a choir boy, is it?
It's a choir boy, and that's a little bow, and they were red. That was red originally, but that's sort of chipped off a bit over the years. But he still kept his lovely blue cassock.
Skirt. Cassock. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got his hymn book and everything. But yes, I've got several things what come out of Christmas what remind me of people, but this is one what I've had, as I say, since I was about 8 or 9. I can always remember I was thrilled when I opened it at Christmas time, because I always loved choir boys for some reason, and church choirs. Like to see them on Christmas cards and everything. So to me, this is very special.
It looks very special. Okay, thank you. Brilliant. I'm going to move on fairly quickly, because of getting through everybody. Dee and Alan, you're next on my screen. You're not. You're muted. You're muted. That's it.
In view of what Jen said this morning.
Jen likes elephants. Very good.
Right. This one was brought back. Our eldest son, Nigel, he was a cricketer. And when he was at school, he played for Lincolnshire, and they toured Sri Lanka, and they went there for a month. And this is one of the things he brought back from this. So it is quite a few years old now. And just to keep the theme, this is a marble one. And again, our eldest son, he went to work in Kenya, in Barclays Bank for a year, and we went out to, we was lucky enough to be able to go out and visit him, and we bought this one back. It's very, very heavy, so we struggled to get it back. And then we've got 2 little ones as well, different ones. So I've just, because Jen said she liked elephants this morning,
yes,
it's in honor of you. But they are very special, all of them, and they all have pride of place in the house.
Quite right. Thank you.
That was 4 for the price of 1. That was.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dee. Susan, did you have anything? You need to unmute.
Yes, I was trying to think of something small, and it's very small, so you won't be able to see it really. But
Try us.
I was trying to think back of when I became a Christian and what the influences were, and the main influences were the Brownies and the Guides, and I belong to a company that met at the YWCA. This is my uniform I've got here in front of me, which is very tatty now, but and I can't get it on. But anyway, and it's got all my various badges and things on it. So I was in Brownies for about a year, and my stars here say I was in the guides for 5 years. And the little tag on the shoulder says 3rd Loughborough YWCA. And if you were a YWCA guide, you were always affiliated to the YWCA, which no longer exists, of course, folks. I'm sure you know that. It's gone. But my little membership of the YWCA is a very, very little tiny triangular badge. Hang on, let's put it down a bit.
Hold it still and we'll see. Yes, I think we can see. Yeah.
And it's it says YWCA across the middle, and it's a blue, black, and gold. And the motto of the YWCA at that time was love God, serve others, grow in body, mind, and spirit. And I can't think of any better motto in a way for life, really. And the two ladies that ran the YWCA were amazing Christian ladies and dedicated to the service of that organisation. We were only in a very small building, but it happened to be at the end of my road as well, which was quite good. I think Mother thought I should take my bed, you know, because we used to do more than the guides there. But anyway.
Thank you. So YWCA is Young Women's Christian Association, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because once heard,
the YMCA still exists, of course.
yes, once heard of that more, really, but
the
no.
YWCA faded away, but I don't really know why.
Right. Oh no, that's brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to move along to Sandra.
Okay. I brought my teddy.
Oh.
Which was not from a grandma. It was actually from an uncle of mine who gave it to me on the day I was born, which I don't remember, of course, but I've been told he gave it to me on the day I was born. And when I was a little bit older, I decided that my teddy needed clothes. So the clothes he's wearing was my auntie knitted those, but not the auntie who was married to my uncle, if you see what I mean. So it was a different auntie who knitted the clothes for it. But you can see he's very battered. He's lost most of his fur, he's lost his eyes, but he's very well loved, very well played with, took part in all sorts of adventure games and things that I used to play with my brothers. He came to university with me. He came to France with me when I worked in France for a year. But he's special because the uncle was very special. And sadly, this uncle, my Uncle Douglas, died when he was only 60, which was about 27 years ago. He died from bowel cancer. But all our family lived in the same village. My mum's side of the family, my dad's side of the family, all lived in the same village when I was little. But my uncle was the first person to move away, and he moved to Maidenhead to work. And while he was there, he became a local preacher. And when he came back to visit my nan and granddad, his mum and dad, he used to take services at the local chapel as a visiting preacher. And I think he was, even when I was 6-7 years old, very young, he had more of an influence on me then, I think, than I realised at the time. And I used to be so proud when he came to preach in the chapel, and used to sit and think, oh, that's my uncle up there taking the service. And I used to listen a lot more attentively when he was there, partly because he was my uncle, but also because I felt he would be watching me closely as well and seeing what I was doing. But
that uncle, yeah, had a big influence on me, and the teddy as well. So
brilliant. Thank you. It's good to meet your teddy. I want to take him to the repair shop and get some eyes for him, but there we are. I'm just going up on my screen to take in Jen, who I realised I missed out the first time round. Jen, you go next.
Well, I did consider showing an elephant or two. But the problem is with all my elephants is I love all of them, and I've got quite a lot. So I couldn't choose one. I didn't do that. But as a family, in my childhood, in Sussex, lived in Sussex, and we used to go regularly to the New Forest for holidays, because it was just along the coast, really. And there was a shop there that sold Disney plates of Disney films. So every holiday, I'd always say, "Can we go to Burnley to the Disney shop?" And it wasn't just Disney, but it was to me, to collect plates. So this is one of them, which is pretty obvious which one that one is, I think. Yeah, so it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I managed to collect 12 over the years. So it was just a way of remembering holidays. They were special holidays, but when we moved to Wymondham, the walls in the manse in Wymondham, I think, is made of granite or something. Well, not literally, but incredibly hard walls that you couldn't. It was so hard to get a nail in, and the thought of trying to hammer in 12 nails to get these plates up, I didn't do. But we'd always said that when we came here, or wherever our next manse was, that we'd try and get them up. And when we moved in and settled in, as you do, I was saying, well, where can we put the Disney plates? And then we realised at the one end of the sitting room, they'd left a lot of nails in the wall, and in one particular place there were 12 nails, well, on two adjacent walls, 6 nails in the right place and another 6 nails. So we now have them up. So I'm pleased with that. So I'm not going to show you all 12, but they're all lovely.
The way she usually tells it, she says I wouldn't let her have them in Wymondham.
I was being generous then.
But I've given in here. But when it comes to the next house, I'm not so sure. But anyway, I'm quite fond of them now as well. And I do like that Snow White one. Snow White was the first film I ever saw at the cinema. So that helps. Right, who have we got to? Kathy, it's your turn.
Right, my special thing is lighthouses.
Ooh. Oh, do you mean you've got a lot of them?
I've got hundreds of them. And this one is special because this is a replica of, I've got to think of it now. I have to look. I've got Southwold. Southwold is my main lighthouse, what I love. That was the lighthouse when we went on holiday there, and I was up in a turret, and I didn't really like it that much because it was about 3 floors up, and just seeing the light of the lighthouse flash every 3 seconds, it comforted me. And after that, it's always been a thing when we go to Southwold, as we're driving down the road into Wrentham, we look out to see who can see the lighthouse first. And it's even passed down into my cousin and his girlfriend. We're all mad about it. But this one is Orford Ness.
Ah.
And unfortunately, the end of last year, the beginning of this year, Orford Ness was demolished.
Oh.
The lighthouse does not stand anymore because it was out in the water and that needed a lot of work done. So they took this one down, but that meant Southwold Lighthouse got saved.
Thank you. Have you got Beachy Head there in your collection?
I don't think I have. I think I might have got it on a picture.
Ah.
But
There's
yeah.
another story that Jen tells about me taking a photo of Beachy Head. It looks as though I climbed over a fence and went down a hillside where it said danger, don't go.
No, it wasn't a hillside, it was a cliff. You know, a sheer.
Anyway, I did do that, but I did say I was never going to do it again. Anyway, Kathy, sorry, I didn't want to take away from your lighthouses.
That's fine.
That's amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, Rosemary, you've slipped to the top of my screen, so we must go back to you. You'll need to unmute.
I don't know whether you can see it, but if I've preached in your church, it's what I wear all the time.
That's lovely.
I can't remember the exact year. I think I was out 13 or 14, and I've been given the enormous sum of money, 2 shillings and 6pence for the whole of the holiday. And it was the beginning of the holiday, and I went into a junk shop. This, of course, was long before television and antiques got going. And I was sort of going through this box, which was full of all sorts of things, and I found this. And I thought, gosh, that is beautiful. And I got 2 and 6pence. So I went to the man and I said, how much is it? And he said, how much have you got? So I said, I've got 2 and 6pence because it's solid silver. He said, right, you can have it and I'll throw in the chain. So he threw in a silver chain. Well, imagine that for a 13-year-old. Yeah. There's no way I could wear it. And it went away in a box in a special place where I kept it for many years. And then when I was ordained, actually before I was ordained, I'd got it out for wearing sometimes when I was preaching. And then I went with my friend Brenda, who's a deaconess in Sheringham, and we went to Iona. And of course, this has got on the back of it, Iona, and the initials AR. And long ago, I think at the beginning of the century, AR was Alex Richardson, was it? Who was the jeweler on Iona. And of course, when I went to Iona, I was wearing it. And literally, I was saying, no, you can't have it. I was offered immense sums of money. Apparently, it's a very, very early Alex Ritchie and very, very valuable. And I was offered all sorts of lots of money for buying it off me. And in the end, I always had to put it in my pocket because so many people wanted to have it. Apparently, it's a very rare and a very wonderful object. It's Christ, the tree of life, roots on earth and in heaven. And this is the intermingling of all things. It's a Celtic symbol. And it's designed on the standing cross, which you can see in the museum at Iona, which is the standing cross with this design on it, with the Christ, the tree of life. And it's also on the top of one of the stone tombs that are there. So, of course, it was waited all those years for me. And then when I was ready for it, I got it out and I wear it faithfully every time I preach, and I love it. It's a very, very precious possession. Can you see it?
Yeah.
It's
yes,
very,
we can see it extremely clearly. I think I've got a much smaller version of. Isn't
it beautiful?
Not as nice as yours. It is beautiful. Rosemary, I lived in the cottage that Alexander Ritchie lived in on Iona. I lived in it for 10 months when I was working for the Iona community.
Well, he was a jeweler.
Well, he was an arts and crafts.
Yes, he did silver. Mm. Well, you can see this next time I see it. It's got AR on the back of it.
Yes, no, I believe you. But I only mentioned him yesterday, which is amazing.
Isn't that extraordinary?
Because I was saying to Jen, they must have said something about the arts and crafts movement on Bargain Hunt. And I said to Jen that I was trying to think of the name of the man who owned the cottage called Shuna that I lived in on Iona. And then and somebody mentioned him on the television, and I remembered he was called Alexander Ritchie and his wife was called Euphemia. Anyway, so it's just amazing that you're now talking about him, and and that cross was made by him.
Isn't
I
it
think
beautiful?
that is worth quite a bit.
Yes,
Dolly.
I think it was probably more its rarity value, but I did have to hang on to it.
And you bought it for 2 and 6?
2 and 6 with the chain, which is a beautiful silver chain.
Yes, yes.
Things were different in those days. It was a long time ago.
Yes. Right, okay, I'll try and calm down after that one. And let's go to Barry and Anne. You'll do it in a minute, Anne. Keep going.
Do it in a minute. Barry says I'll have to go first. I've got to, where have I got to point these? I have some little clogs. Can you see those?
Yes. Yes, we can see them.
Yeah, and these belonged, well, I belonged to my late husband's father, and I used to always admire them whenever I went to see him and his wife. I used to sit and talk to him about family things, you know. I was very interested in family history, and I tried very hard to find out as much as I could about their family. And they were Irish. They came over to Lancashire and worked in the cotton mills. And I managed to find the list of the family on the Ancestry website. But inside here, this was quite fascinating. There was a piece of paper and it's still tucked in there. And it tells me, it's just on a piece of rough paper, it says that these clogs belong to a young girl cousin of ours. I think she died young. Also, so very, you know, bit of family history there, and I had to just put it all together. And I found this Tom, I found his name amongst the ones living in Lancashire. So I'm imagining that these were worn by his child in Lancashire. I don't know what age the child was, but a young child. But they're quite heavy, and they've got the wooden sole. And what did you call those, Barry? The irons, the proper irons, clog irons. So that's one of my favourite objects.
Thank you, they're lovely. I don't want people to think I watch television all the time, but I remember seeing something the other day about clog wearing, and I'm just trying to remember the reason that working people wore clogs. Was it because they had to walk a long way to get to work, or what was it for? Anyway, I think it was to do with their durability and
yeah, well, they were very warm and comfortable.
Yeah.
How old would these be?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know how old they are, but they're
probably
they look beautiful.
20 years old or more. Yeah.
So we are seeing lots of beautiful items, except they're all different, which is fascinating. Barry,
I
what
mean,
have you got?
the trouble with clogs, that in the snowy weather, they used to build up what we call patterns underneath. So you were looking at that depth underneath, it stuck to your clog, you know.
Barry's,
I don't know whether you'll be able to see
large.
this.
I don't know quite how to do this.
Barry's is large. Oh.
Can you see that?
Yes, it's a picture.
Yeah.
Is that a bird or an aeroplane?
No, it's an aeroplane.
You'll have to turn it so the lights.
It was when the Avro Vulcan was retired from the Air Force, it went on goodbye flights around the country. And that picture was taken as it passed over Scarborough Castle.
Do you want
And
to show you, Liam?
my younger son bought me this for my 80th birthday. Now, I could tell you probably quite a few stories about the Vulcan. I know it was a warplane, but it was such an iconic aircraft.
You won't have time.
But the one that I
story.
will tell you, and some of you may have heard this before, the only time, as far as I'm aware, that it flew in anger was when it flew the raid on Port Stanley during the Falklands conflict. Now, our aircraft, the Vulcan and the refuelers, were all based on Ascension Islands. So they had to use, I think it was about 9 of the Victor bombers, which had been turned into tankers, to get that aircraft down there. And they flew, you know, tankers refueled tankers and tankers refueled tankers, until there was one left for the Vulcan for the final run in. But the thing that I found fascinating was a near neighbour of ours, he's passed on now, but he was quite instrumental in developing tanker aircraft. And when they put this rate together, they had no computers or anything like that. And it said the only aid that they had for calculating the fuel loads and the distances and all the rest of it was on a £4.99 calculator bought off Swaffham Market.
That's a good story.
Can I switch him off?
Yeah, switch him off. Thank you, Barry. Oh dear. So although I hadn't asked people to say where they're speaking from this evening, most people are ending up saying where they're from, sort of by the by, which is good. Let's see. Cliff, have you got anything?
Yes,
Oh, is that John Wesley or Charles Wesley?
Can you see that?
The light makes it a bit difficult.
Oh.
Is it John Wesley?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There we are. That's it. That's it. Hold it there.
Yes. Right. The reason why I like this is because when I was candidating in Zimbabwe, when I was accepted for candidating, I went to train. I went to a theological college in Zimbabwe called the Epworth Mission. So when I was at Epworth Mission, then the stories about this man on the sender, that's when I got to understand him when we were doing our theological studies. So his theology and everything influenced me quite a lot, especially the statement, the world is my parish. Then nobody didn't know what I took from that. And even the church in Zimbabwe never knew that that statement meant quite a lot to me. And I said, I'm not going to end here. The world is my parish. So, so I left Zimbabwe and I went to Botswana, where I was sent as a missionary there. Then the same statement, kept on making sense to me. The world is my parish. I left Botswana to UK. Then I said, oh yes, England, that's where the money is from. So when I came here, the first we stayed in Harrogate, that is near Leeds. Then I found out that Epworth was very close to where we were. So we were thinking about it, and I was talking about it with my wife until we went to Birmingham. We stayed in Birmingham. We didn't visit Epworth, but we knew about the place. Then after Birmingham, we went to stay in Lincoln. That was 2010. Then when we were in Lincoln, that's when we realized we were very, very, very close to Epworth. So I visited Epworth. Then I saw the place for John Wesley, the house, and studied everything and sat on his chair. Then the message again came. Then that's when I saw this plate. And I said, I have to buy this and have it in my office. So the words which are written on this plate, they say, I rode to Epworth, which I still love beyond most places in the world, right? So that sort of made a connection with me from Zimbabwe, going to Epworth, visiting Epworth Mission. Then I ended up visiting the place where John Wesley's home is. So that's why I love this object, and I will keep it in my office. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks, Cliff. You moved on my screen during the course of that, so I had to find you again. No, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Yes.
Let's go to David and Hazel. You'll need to unmute.
Well then, Tom, you go first. You go first. Yeah.
Oh.
You'll have to hold.
I'm told I've got to go first. This is my treasure.
Yeah, I don't think they can see it. Shall I hold it up?
Can you hold it up a bit, David?
I'll hold it up.
Okay. Is it a coin?
It's a medal.
Medal.
Gold medal issued by the British Crop Protection Council, and it says on the front, to David Yarram for outstanding services to British crop protection.
Ah.
And since I spent my career really in British crop protection, I was rather proud to get that. I didn't think I would do, but I did do. And so that's how that come to be one of my treasured possessions. And you might say, well,
speak a bit loud.
You might say, well, you must have done something which you are proud of. But just recently, I've had a question mark thrown in, because my expertise was on cereal diseases, and more particularly the disease called take-all, caused by the fungus Goimenomyces graminis. And then someone that enabled me to advise farmers that they could continue to grow cereals year after year after year without a break. And this is regarded as absolute heretics by some people in agriculture. And so I'm not altogether proud of the results of my advice.
Oh, I see.
Because people think, oh, we shouldn't be suggesting that. But anyway, the farmers who advised certainly liked it. And when we came back to Norfolk to Fulmerstone, I met a farmer in the next village who was very definitely in my favour, because I'd advised him to grow wheat year after year, and he'd done it for years. So that's my thing I'm proud of. And
yes, thank you. No, that's really special, David. How many people have got a medal like that?
Oh, quite a number. Yeah, they're given out every year.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I got presented at the Brighton Conference. Yeah.
Right. No, thank you. And Hazel, what have you got?
I have an old, I think it's Victorian, Wesleyan chapel, china, given to me by an old lady who lived round the corner from where we lived near Cambridge, and she died. She was about 101, and she left me this. She sort of became part of our family, really. She was a Methodist, and we took her to chapel, and she became very deaf and could hardly see, and this was one of her treasures, and she left it to me. It's a money box. It's got a slit in the back of the roof, but I'm not quite sure how you'd get the money out except on a knife or something.
Yeah.
Or breaking it. So that is a treasure because she was a dear friend.
No, it looks lovely. I thought it was a teapot at first.
No.
But it's a money box.
The money box. It's a Methodist money box.
I'm coveting a lot of these items that we're seeing. Rosebery's Cross and your chapel there. Oh dear. Right, let's go on quickly to Pippa and Malcolm.
What my treasured possession is this. Can you read it?
NYBB.
It says NYBB.
Right. And NYBB stands for the National Youth Brass Band. When I was 16, I was persuaded to apply to play in the National Youth Band. But unfortunately, the auditions had already taken place. And so the next year, I was invited to go for audition. I went for the audition and was auditioned by Dr. Dennis Wright and gained a place in the band. And so playing with the best, I wasn't the best. I was just second baritone, but to play that first Saturday night when the whole band got together and played the national anthem, and it was so much bigger than the band that I played in, and the noise was so much more than that it was quite emotional. And since I've realized just what a sacrifice that was for me to go, because the course fee was £10, and that was half a week's wages for my dad, apart from getting there. So it must have been quite a sacrifice for the family for me to go for this very special experience.
Thank you, Pippa. Pippa, what was it you were playing?
A baritone.
What's that though?
Well, it's it's like a euphonium but smaller.
Oh, right. What's a euphonium? No. It's a brass instrument anyway.
It's a brass instrument, yes.
Yes. Okay. Has Malcolm got anything?
Yes.
Yeah. My collection started back 60 years ago when we were living in Cirencester, and my father was the steward for the church and took the collection plate home to put the money in. And I started collecting pennies. So I used to go through all the collection to get the pennies out that I wanted, because I was going by date, and Dad would put in the money to cover that, obviously, and it gradually built up. Well, over the time, I've sort of gradually got more and more of these. I've got a full set of pennies now, apart from the 6 that are missing. 2 of them are in the Queen's Museum, 1 is at the V&A, and 1 is floating around somewhere. They don't know where it is. That's 1933. But I've got various ones that I brought with me. I've got George III, and Where are we? Oh, yes, right.
Yeah.
George the Third. That's
Right.
the thickest. That's the thickest penny I've got. Now, a double-headed, which is very unusual, a double-headed Victorian young head penny.
Can't see it, Malcolm. Oh, right.
They're the same on both sides, which they shouldn't be, obviously.
What we can't see, but there's a head both sides. Right.
Yeah, there's a head both sides. It's the bun head with the bun at the back. Then we've got George the Fourth.
Right.
That's George the Sixth.
George the Sixth. Sorry.
George, anyway.
And my precious one is that one. Where's it gone to?
Oh yeah.
It's a half sovereign.
Right.
It was given to me by a friend, and she said, "I've got nothing else to give you. I've left you nothing in my will, but I'd like you to have that." And so I've got this little sovereign, and you know, the more you get involved, I loved history at school, but because I went to secondary school, of course we couldn't do history. So history now is the coins, the times, the dates, the different things that happened during those periods.
Yes.
So we just got gradually collected them up.
Yes.
I love my money.
I've got a George the something or other one like you just showed. I'll have to ask you about it. It was given to my dad.
Somewhere there.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Heather and Doreen, I saw you come on at some stage. Have you got anything to show us? We can't hear because you're muted.
There we go.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we've both got something, but I've got this little. Can you see this brass bear?
Move your hand. Oh no, that's off the screen now. Come back. Yes.
Towards you?
No. Well, you're shoving him off the screen.
In front of your face.
In front of you.
In front of me.
Yeah.
Can you see him?
Yes. He's doing something with a tree trunk.
Yeah. And look.
Oh.
And the story behind the bear is that my dad had an allotment which was a part of the walled vicarage garden in our village. And 2 or 3 men had allotments there. And Dad was digging on his allotment one day and dug up this little bear.
Gosh.
And I was always up there with him because there was wonderful grounds and there was an orchard and there was lots of aquilegia growing wild. And I used to run through the trees and love the flowers. And anyway, Dad found this and Mum cleaned it up. And we were wondering what it possibly could be. He would have had a little chain around here. But he hasn't got it now, but there's a little thing there where a chain would have gone. And we wondered, was it an inkwell? Was it a thing for spills? We're not sure, and nobody's ever identified it as to what he could have been. And over the years, this has grown loose, so it swivels about, but that's how it's supposed to be. And anyway, all of a sudden, I didn't have the bear, and I couldn't make out where the bear had gone, and that was it, and I'd lost him. Then ever so many years later, my brothers, we were talking about it, and I said about Dad digging up the bear, and he said, well, I've got it. Because Mum died when he was 12, I was 17. 5 years later, Dad married again, so the house was broken up, and somehow my brother got the bear because this always stood on the mantelpiece, which I had to dust every Saturday morning. So I could tell you everything that was on that blimmer mantelpiece, including the bear. Anyway, my brother had it, and I said, but he's mine. I was there when Dad dug him up, and he's mine. So he said, oh, all right then. So he gave him to me back, and he sits on our mantelpiece now. So that's the story of him.
Thank you.
Jackie, It's the Warwickshire symbol, the bear with the ragged staff.
Oh, did you hear
Is
that,
it?
Heather?
Yeah, I do.
So
Yes, I
Warwickshire
did.
It's the
symbol.
Warwick
symbol.
county symbol, the bear with the ragged staff.
Is it?
Mm.
Oh, wow.
It's lovely. It's beautiful.
Susan is nodding as well, so she
He's
obviously
a
knows
nice
that.
little chap.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
He's quite
Rosemary,
heavy.
what would he have been for with his head coming off like that?
Well, I think that was because he was made to put something in. I mean, normally the bear,
Yeah.
his head doesn't come off, but he's just a symbol of Warwickshire. He's their county badge.
Right.
No.
Well,
Well, that's
there we are.
interesting because
You've
he was dug up in a rectory garden in Carlton Colville in Suffolk.
He was obviously an immigrant.
He's moved around. And Doreen's well, I've got another little thing, but we mustn't show two things.
No, you mustn't. I'm being very restrained, so you can do it too, Heather.
Well, I've got two things, but can you see this?
No, choose one.
Doreen's
a chair.
got one.
It's a little silver
chair.
Yeah.
And I've had that since I was about 7. And my mum and dad had some friends who were farmers just outside Hemel Hempstead called Felden near Chipperfield. And we loved these farmers, and we used to go there quite a lot on a Sunday afternoon and have tea with them. And Mrs. Nash had a pony and trap. We used to have a ride in her pony and trap. Anyway, when my sister and I reached a certain age, I don't know how old I was, but not very old, and they gave us these. And she's got a little one similar to this, but I treasure it. I love it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where does that live then?
That lives on my mother's sewing table, which I adore, but I can't show you that because it's too big to hold up. So that lives there all the time.
That's lovely.
And then I've got my Bible that I had given to me, which I was very proud of. And I was nearly 11. I've written inside it, nearly 11 for my birthday. And I've covered it all, and I love that Bible.
She's got that covered in brown paper.
I can't read it now because it's too small print.
No, that's the trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Hingham ladies. Joe, did you have anything? Or are you just sitting there? No, you're just sitting there. That's fine. Isla, it's nice to see you, Isla. Did you want to show us anything, or are you happy just watching?
Hi, yeah, I have got something.
Are you going to
Yeah, I've never actually done a camera thing before, so just bear with.
No, that's fine. We don't mind.
I've got my rabbit teddy.
Oh my goodness.
Which is of Bunny, my pet.
Right. How long have you, is it a him or a her?
It's her.
And how long have you had her?
A year from when I got her.
Right.
And she's got I built her online like a Build-A-Bear, and there's a little certificate as well. Yeah.
Right.
And you get to choose like your fur and eye colour.
Yes. And has she got a name?
Yeah, Bunny.
Oh, Bunny, sorry, you said.
Well, is that the same as your rabbit called Bunny?
Yeah, she's like a replica of Bunny. Yeah, my rabbit.
So there's Bunny and there's Bunny.
Yeah.
Bunny's Bunny.
Well, Isla, thank you for introducing us to Bunny.
Jackie. Jackie.
Hello.
It's so nice to see Quentin. I don't think we've seen him at things before.
No, I'm just going to get to Quentin.
Thank you, Isla.
Let's just say thank you to Isla. That was brilliant. Quentin is from Hingham, not from Hingham, from Watton. Quentin, do you want to unmute?
Apparently not.
No, he's trying. Quentin is married to Shirley, and they haven't been in Watton that long. And in fact, Jen used to know them in Hampshire when Jen work there? I don't think Quentin can work out how to do it. I can ask him to unmute. Oh, yes, you've done it. Well done.
Right.
You have the floor, Quentin.
Right. What I've brought is a camera. This is my latest camera, which I've only had for maybe 6 months. I only replace things when they eventually die. And this basically is my latest replacement, and very, very good.
Can we see it? Can we see it then? Oh, very good. Hey, is it one of those new ones that are, I can't remember what they're called?
Pentax.
Yes, it's lovely.
Are they called mirrorless?
Uvex.
Anne's saying something there.
What's Anne saying?
Oh, I shouldn't be saying anything.
I can see all of you on my camera now.
Oh, we'll take a photo then.
Oh, well, I'd have to have everybody's permission to do that, wouldn't I?
Yeah, we all
Well, I'm recording them and they haven't protested about that.
That's it. You're immortalized now.
Well, I hope I was smiling.
I'll let you know later. The reason I chose it was because there are so many things which you forget. Sometimes you forget them very quickly. Sometimes you remember things only because you see a photograph which you took at whatever point in time. And as a tool, and that's why I've chosen it, because it's just one of the many tools I possess, it's perhaps one of the most valuable, because it allows you to relive situations, moments, wonderful times. And when you're in a situation where you're so restricted, as we have been for so long, being able to remember good times and all that's associated with those, all triggered by just one photograph. I think that's a marvelous piece of equipment, really. A lot of people always think that my reluctance to use modern technology is rather strange, because I was a design and technology teacher for many, many years. And in a way, what I feel is that each piece of equipment has a value. It's useful in different ways, but I explain it to people who find my attitude toward the computer somewhat mysterious, that just as you only need to use a hammer or a screwdriver in specific situations, so it is with a computer. And I think that so many people now have become so reliant on technology, and I'm not talking about the effects of the pandemic, I'm talking about prior to the restrictions that has brought about, that they've forgotten the importance of human contact. And, you know, I used to see people walking down the street side by side, and they wouldn't be talking to each other, but they'd be on their mobile phones to different people. And I believe that even some people talk to their partners purely by modern technology. They don't actually interact. That's their chosen form of communication.
Nobody here does that.
Anyway, I thought I'd just show you one photograph. This is a photograph of our grandchildren. I don't know. Can you see?
Hold it still. Yeah. They're climbing a tree, or they're on a...
No, they're on one of those
adventure
flying
things.
through the treetops.
Yes.
Go Ape or something like that, it's called.
How old are they, Quentin?
Well, that's the interesting thing. Without taking the photograph out of the frame, I can't be sure when I took it. My guess is that our grandson is probably about 11 or 12, and our granddaughter would be perhaps about 8 or 9. But now our grandson is, well, he's 15 and a bit, and our granddaughter is coming up for 12. But they look so very different, and they're both at secondary school. One of them is approaching GCSE. So, I mean, for many of you, I guess that you've been through all this experience yourself, and you see how your grandchildren grow up and how much they change. And it seems to happen very quickly. I just wanted to say also, I'm presuming it's Philippa. Was it Malcolm as well? Philippa and Malcolm?
Pippa.
Oh, right. Well, Pippa. It was interesting you talking about the National Youth Brass Band, because our son, Benjamin, who never touches his trumpet anymore, rose to the dizzy heights of being the principal trumpet in the Hampshire Youth Orchestra. So when you were talking, it brought back memories of all the wonderful things that he had the opportunity to do. And I always feel very jealous of people who are extremely musically talented, and that includes Jen.
Yeah, you've made her evening now. Quentin, thank you very much. And I think we've now been through everybody that wanted to show something. I haven't missed anybody, have I? I think that's been I like to stop just after 8 because that's what I promise. But I think that's been a brilliant sharing time, and very interesting and moving, really, to see everybody's different things. So well done, everybody. Thank you. I have recorded it. So if you want to watch it.
What about you, Jackie? What about you, Jackie?
You came on late.
Oh, we did.
I mean, I could sneak in a second thing.
We want to see your special thing.
Well, they're doing a different one. Oh, I showed them this, which was my grandma's, and she used to say it was me, and I ended up with it. But as you said that, I'm just going to finish with another story and an object, all right? And then I'm going to finish the thing. When I was a lot younger than I am now, and before I ever had any children, I went with my ex-husband to a fair thing, and you know that they have shooting ranges and things where you can win furry gonks and funny creatures. And we were at this stall, and they had big gonks and they had little gonks, and Peter managed to get 3 things down, and he got this little gonk, and it had white pink hair and grey body, and it was only little, but it was very bright. We called him Herbert, and we put him in the front of our little Triumph Herald, and he was a character. It was like he was alive. Anyway, one day, this isn't too long a story, one day I was driving the Triumph Herald, which used to be my grandfather's, but that's by the by, in Cambridge, and I took it to the Park Street car park, and for some reason I drove it right the way up to the top of the car park, and there were 2 spaces at the top separate, and I'd never parked there before, but I parked in one of the 2 separate places, and off I went into the town shopping. I went back an hour or 2 later, and I went right up to the spaces, and the car wasn't there, and I couldn't believe it.
Oh no.
And so I won't go on too long about that bit of it, but it had been stolen by some joyriders. They had driven their car right up to the top. They parked next to the Triumph Herald, so they dumped one they'd stolen and then took ours. Anyway, we were quite distressed about our Triumph Herald that used to be my grandfather's. But more than that, we were distressed because Herbert was in it. And we were so worried about Herbert. And but 2 days later, the police phoned and they'd found the Triumph Herald because they'd driven it to Ipswich and dumped it there. So Peter went off to collect the Triumph Herald, and we were sure that Herbert wouldn't be in it. But he was. He was still there. So we got the car back and we got Herbert back. And I still have him, but he's no longer bright and he hasn't even got any eyes.
Oh,
he is a shadow of his former self.
Herbert. He's not even a shape. God. He looks like a blob of cotton wool. Oh,
this was 40 years ago or so.
Oh,
but to me, he's still Herbert.
I believe you.
He lives in a plastic bag in my special box. Right, there you are. That was just for you, Heather.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. Oh,
depending how long we go on with Tuesday evening Zooms for, we could do an evening like this again and we could all show something else. Some of us sneaked in more than one, but there we are. Right, next week, we're back to having a chat to somebody again. And Cliff, I think I asked you, didn't I, if we could talk to you next week. It would be lovely if Christine was there as well. And if you sang to us.
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you. This is my mantra for this evening.
Oh yes, she will be there.
Oh, great. Because we'd really like to know about you and Christine and something about your story. And we'd like to hear you singing.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So that's next week, everybody.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay. I don't know how else to finish except just to wave and say, see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Very much. Bye.